So, hi, welcome to Culture Healing. So, today I have a much admired brother that I started to follow last year. And my first introduction to him was when someone reposted a video saying that he ran some Mormons from his house. And I found it I found it so funny. So from there, I loved the information that he countered them with, and in fact that they could not actually respond to it. But then one fella out of the group actually tried to understand where he was coming from. He wasn't like pushing it through. The others were stubborn as usual, but he kept his cool, and I admire that about a king who was able to give us information and kept his cool, right? So from there, I started to follow him, and I got so much information on food. So on his platform, he talks about time and how time is not real. So he's going to literally teach you over about what time is basically about. He loves a black woman, and he speaks about how eternal and enlarged she is as a being. He don't see us as flesh, but just who we are as a conscious being. So with that, I admire this king. Welcome to my platform, Mr. Crumb.
Peace. Thank you so much for that introduction. You know, those things are just so true. I'm just so humbled and appreciative to be here with you today. Thank you for allowing me up here.
No problem. So today, well, you guys know that I am extremely passionate when it comes to my men, and I felt like women had a platform, even though black women were led down the wrong word in terms of how to treat a person. We forgot basically, and were taught someone else's ways and how to treat a woman. I feel like it is still unfair that a lot of us are aware of the power that we have as a being, even if we are not aware of our self, right? But we know that we have some sort of semblance of control over the men, and we choose to use that power in a negative light. So I wanted to bring awareness to it, where it really came from, and basically how we can solve that in being considerate in an equal towards our men instead of us fighting for a platform. And also men being able to see us again as a woman on his level, but not as a threat, because I find that black women see black women as a threat, but not in a way where like you have your goals and I feel threatened by you, but in a threat is I am afraid you're going to hurt me type of threat. So I wanted to have him have his platform and just break his stuff down and go from there. Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, I think you really hit the nail on the head, just even summarizing that up. We are working more so against each other than with each other. And I know a lot of times the family is going to think of it, or our loves, they're going to think of this as exclusively for our brothers and sisters who are in relationships, but this goes on so many different levels.
Yes.
And that, unfortunately, being one of the primary ones. You know, we see our you know, from a gender wars point of view, our women as working against us. However, you know, when we're dealing with the crumbs that I offer, I try my best to go back to the beginning,
Yes.
because if you don't know where you came from, it's hard to determine where you're going.
Yes.
So I just wanted to, you know, let our people know that the reality is, you know, most definitely, without a question, we're working against each other.
Yeah.
And we do see each other as a threat. However, this isn't the way that we
Used to be.
not, not even that. Well, I'm sorry. In addition to that, because when you talk about the way things used to be, we're talking about the root, and what things are now is talking about the fruit. And a lot of people love the fruit, you know, especially these outside cultures looking in. They love the fruit of what we offer. They just don't like the root of what the tree is. And if you look back at our root, you know, what you're going to see is the first deification of an image was a melanated woman. you know, when we're dealing with the Holy Trinity, we're dealing with
Mm-hmm.
man, woman, and child. You know, when we're dealing with even with a science, positive, negative, neutral, there's powers in the number 3, and that's what we're going to see, where everybody had their role within our society.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we didn't just throw grandma away to the retirement home. She had her place within the home.
Yeah.
And so now that all these things are falling apart, it was inevitable that, you know, the last 2 were going to be the woman and the man who are in a relationship, and that is very much so a new arising from out of the European psyche.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not even our people.
Mm-hmm.
That might be what you're going to see with the fruit, but the fruit might not be even. This might not be a good generation.
Yes.
It might not be a good batch, because the reality is this plant produces good crop. You know, we are a good seed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now, does the fruit get banged and bruised up along the way? You know, one thing I did tell my lady is that, you know, the reality is, just being humble about it, I am damaged fruit. I'm sorry, excuse me. I am damaged goods. I am damaged goods, you know, because I've just been, you know, down a long, bumpy road.
Mm-hmm. I got you. I understand. And with him saying that, that is like the story of a lot of Black men, especially now. And if you go back to when they would fight for us, even the Willie Lynch letter, even though it's been fabricated in a way, it still have its own truth in a way, right? And
Absolutely.
certain things in it where it says that they trained the Black woman to protect her son, but in turn baby him, if you really translate it, and instead make the men look as the woman in a traitor mode or a traitor sight. And with that is when the resentment was raised among our people, but then they reinforced that with in how the mother treats the girls in terms of you have to be fully responsible for certain things. And for the boys, you go play, you go do what you have to do. We're bringing it back down. Whereas when it comes to when a Black woman go into a relationship with a Black man, she is more like he is not able to grow up, he is immature, he's not ready for such things, and I can't deal. And I find that a lot of teenage girls, if you have find that they go after older men because of that thing, you know what I mean? And that is where I feel like parenting now, not before, have to change in that aspect. I feel like you should raise both genders on the same platform instead of separating that responsibility, that care, that love, etc. So when they meet their guys, they expect a certain thing from him, but he can't give it because he basically, it was never taught in a way. Is this like similar in terms of like breaking it down basically?
You know, Sister Gonzalez, you bring up several good points, I must be honest. And it really reminds me of the teachings of a sister. She is a master teacher as well, by the name of Dr. Joy DeGruy. And she talks about how our women, men, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. She talks about how our men, women, and specifically the children had what they had to experience being raised, you know, having developed these relationships on the plantation. You know, how does a woman raise a child to be a slave? You know,
post-traumatic slave syndrome is an explanatory theory that really looks at multi-generational trauma. One of the things that's difficult for people is their first response is, oh my God, that happened so long ago. We're talking about people being captured, shipped, sold, beaten, raped, experimented on. And then you have to ask the question, did the trauma continue? Yes. So 300 years of trauma, no help, freed. No help, more trauma. If it's a sustained trauma, then the impact of that is also sustained. When we look at multi-generational trauma, we're looking at people who are maybe victims of natural disasters and their families and their children and generations of folks who have experienced war. And we know that there are residual mental, emotional, traumatic impact. And what I did was I started to look at the African-American experience, starting with slavery, as a real clear, long, enduring trauma. So I started to see that there were clear connections between that survival behavior and contemporary living in African-American experience. I started to see common behaviors that I took for granted as, well, cultural. There's adaptive behaviors, survival behaviors. Well, what are they? Let's just say 2019, you have a black mother and a white mother. The sons go to school together. They find themselves at a meeting. The black mother leans over to the white mother and says, I just wanted to mention to you that I noticed that your son is really doing quite well. And the white mother's response is, oh, thank you. She begins to go on and on about he won the science fair, his uncle's an astronaut. She's just oozing. She realizes the black mother's son is actually excelling her son. And she says, well, wait a minute. Your son's the one that's really coming along. And the black mother responds, oh my God, he's a handful, but oh, he just works my nerves. Now, when I'm working with African-American people, it doesn't matter what the audience is. It doesn't matter what class. If I were to ask, is she very proud while she's saying those denigrating things? And everybody laughs and goes, of course, there's a secret. Because everybody black knows that even though the black mother is going, oh my God, she's really proud. So now let's roll that scene back 300 years. And let's say this black mother is working in the fields and a white slave owner comes through and says, wow, that boy is really coming along. What is she going to say? No, he's not. He's stupid. He's shiftless. He can't work because I don't want you to sell him. So I denigrate them to protect them. That is called appropriate adaptation when living in a hostile environment. The little white boy, say Timmy, he feels really comfortable and happy about what his mom just said about him. And Trey looks at his mom and wonders, why can't you be proud of me? Because he doesn't understand the secret yet. And by the time he learns the secret, he will have already been injured by it. Post-traumatic slave syndrome. PTSD is a disorder that occurs as a result of a single trauma. You don't even have to be there to actually get a diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. You could just hear about something horrific happening to someone you love. So you have people who have experienced it firsthand, people who have witnessed it in their environment, right? People who are continuing to be oppressed. That exacerbates any possibility of healing. So it's not post-traumatic stress disorder, because then it becomes part of what we call your socialization process. So you begin to normalize a way of living and being, everything from what we eat to what we believe it means to be a friend. All of these things are colored by history. And if you don't understand it, you're going to fold in things that you've just assumed are normal. But post-traumatic stress disorder, exaggerated startle response, outbursts of anger, feeling of foreshortened future. There was a point where there were African-American children in different urban settings that didn't expect to live to be adults because they saw so much death that they started planning their funerals like at 13, 12, as young as 10. When you start looking at the simple biology, you start looking at the impact of stress on health. And while we look at general stress, we know finances, you have illnesses, all these different things. How about being black? How does factoring in being black in America impact your stress level and therefore your body's ability to operate its own immune system? Because we know it compromises the immune system. Once you understand it, then you can deal with it. Because you see, it's habitual. You're socialized. It becomes part of your being. So one of the ways you begin to address that multi-generational trauma is to work with the people it directly impacts, to hear from them. And when you give the people the information, they can use it. I think the first order of business is beginning to have a conversation. And the other is to educate the larger society. You have to stop the assault. So this is not purely a clinical thing. This requires social justice and change. That's where part of the healing is. It's not in a clinical setting or in a pill. It's in fairness and justice and safety and equity. We got to work with some of those clinical things, some of those issues of panic and anxiety. And we also have to deal with the fact that you have a system that is set up to oppress you and to continue to injure you. Both those things have to be dealt with. And they cannot singularly by themselves affect a change. They have to be done collectively.
And the things she had to go through and the things she had to do. And she really brings it into, you know, gritty detail. So, you know, because it was just not an easy thing to do.
Swallow. Yes, yes. And for people to accept as well. Yeah.
Right. And one thing, you know, going a little bit beyond, but I'm gonna touch back to what Miss Joy DeGrew, but going a little bit beyond, you know, in the old days, our people had rites of passage for our children, you know, so now to be a man or to be a woman was defined in different terms, meaning that right now, to be a woman, what it means to be a woman is to have a baby. I had a baby, now I'm a woman. That's not necessarily what a woman is about. Or a more cliche one is, or if a man's been to jail, now he's a man. He didn't do a little time.
What?
No, right. That's what they say here in the States.
What? Okay. Never heard of it. That is new. Okay.
Yeah, very, very ignorant. Or you a man if you shot somebody or you've been shot. Just, you know, just ridiculous standards.
Okay.
You know, like, oh, that's not what being a man is about.
No, that's literally far from everything. Basically, I still kind of, that jumped me a bit. Honestly, because here in the Caribbean, but obviously I've never heard of it, so it's not here. But in the Caribbean, our dynamic is family based, but the man have full control. We allow him in a way to lead, but his leadership isn't full because his mom didn't teach him leadership skills, or dad didn't teach him leadership skills. And in our dynamic here, when a man marry a woman, she does everything. He just go work, drop the money off, and that is it. He does nothing else in that dynamic. In our community here, we have a lot of abuse from the men. So the women truly do not respect men at all here in that dynamic. So I feel like we were basically forced to be in control of everything, if I could put it in that manner. So eventually, as we have certain two parent homes, and you know, somehow he got a good education, well, not education, upbringing, and he is then to go out into the world. He meets a broken woman from a broken family who saw this happen, and then she see him not trust. You get what I'm trying to say there. So I don't know if it's similar over there in terms of what you guys have.
Yeah. Now, one of the leading factors of, you know, even what we define as a broken home, because they don't here in the States, they don't call it a broken home. They've rebranded it, and now they call it what do they call it? Single parent household. You ever heard that one?
Yep, I've heard of that one.
Like single, we called that a broken home when I was a kid.
Now it's broken here because I'm from Guyana, but I live in Barbados, and Guyana is next to Brazil in South America. Where we are, we marry early. Like the men get married at 19, 20. Understand? So we accustomed seeing people in a marriage. So that's why we call it a broken home, because everyone is married in our community over there. So there were hardly any single moms or single dads in that aspect. And if she's a single mom, he died. Or if he's a single dad, he died or she died, and then he's going to marry immediately after that because he have no idea what to do from there. So right. And then, you know, you see how that goes. Now mom just died and you both marry some other woman. How long was she there? Like, you know, then that build that distrust in a child's head, and a woman sees her father as nothing, and then a boy sees as, okay, a woman don't really mean much. So basically we're not going to do much with if that connection is broken. So that's how come we refer to it as a broken home instead of single. Yeah. But we get our influences from overseas in the Caribbean structure, South American structure. We have our own culture there in terms of marrying. Caribbean, single parent home, like you guys, because the television influences the Caribbean in a lot of ways. In everything that they do, rearing of children, food, religion, education, they're influenced by you guys. Whatever America, Canada, or England do, they're doing it here. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about just curious now?
Yeah. No problem.
What about like Nigeria or anywhere in that area? There's no influence from over there?
No,
or,
go ahead.
Or y'all influence them?
We did influence their culture was brought to us here in the Caribbean. 2008 is when we start watching their movies. It came down here and it was a big thing about the movies, right? Everyone was watching Moods. We call it Moods, and everyone was watching it all over their platforms. So, and then all of a sudden it drifted off. So we actually have no influence on them, period, but they have influences in the way that people try to sing like them, in the way that people may try to do, well, voodoo, which I try to tell people, voodoo is not what you think it is.
Right.
But in that manner, and in terms of, well, we are now wearing this here because we never knew about this, as some of us actually never used to wear our hairs. We were influenced to straighten our hair as well.
That's right.
So in all of the dynamic, the Caribbean, and during my research, I found out that majority of the breakage of slavery, I think you heard, because you mentioned it as well in your podcast, happened in Barbados, and then they branched off to other islands as well. So they would bring them here, do all the breakage controlling, and I find the population in Barbados is very, I'm going to do whatever you say, just don't do nothing to me type of manner. Literally, like this lockdown, they didn't say a single thing about it. The men just do it. No one comes out of their home like that. They have I don't know if you guys have it, but I heard that it was influenced from you guys, where you can only go out on your letter day. Do you have it?
Go out when?
On your letter day, like A, B, C, D, D, if your last name is G, L, whatever, you go out between a period of time.
Oh,
yeah.
No, it's not that bad. Well, I mean, it might be like that in certain areas.
No, it's here for the whole island. The men got it.
What?
Yes. And you cannot go into the supermarket's gas station unless you show your ID. Like, it's down pat. Even if you're going to draw off money, you cannot do it without your last name. Yeah.
Wow.
So
That's
they need help. Yes, they do need help. So that's why I asked you in terms of like foods and fascination. I feel like they're so, and over here, wherever you look, there is a lot of fast food places. You hardly see people buying provision or growing their provision. People are now in the last year now trying to grow their foods, but majority of their foods are from the supermarket and from fast food as well. The men are literally celebrating the 1st of May because we were supposed to go back out, and Chefette, which is a place similar to Kentucky, is going to be open, and they have a special that everyone loves, and they are only celebrating that instead of watching what happens after they go back out instead. So like they're distracted with what is about to happen to them. So that is why I want you to bring that awareness, because they do watch my channel. Some people do comment and love the information, but believe it or not, it is from people from Guyana and people from overseas, which watch your channel as well. But hardly anyone from the Caribbean is literally paying attention to what is in the vaccine, what they're going to be doing with the vaccine, the 5G effect that is going to have with us. We don't have the towers, but we have the poles. Here already, we have 5 of them.
Come on, somebody.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know how to give this full detailed information, and I need you. So it's like a desperate situation at this point for us.
Right.
And even though my immediate family do listen, and I send them to your page and other people's page as well, so they can get their information, that is just my family. I need the other people to be aware. So take it away. Do your thing. I just let you know how bad it is here.
Yeah. I think what we see going on is a very serious thing. Now, if I could just even start with the educational system. The educational system in America was first funded by a guy named John D. Rockefeller, better known as J.D. Rockefeller. And J.D. Rockefeller was the world's first billionaire. He created an oil company called Standard Oil. He got that money from an even bigger financial system called the Rothschilds. Now, fast forwarding past all of that, why is he important? J.D. Rockefeller invested in America's school system, and the system was basically to teach children how to obey, follow rules, respect authority, so on and so forth. So now you have a nation, and he said, I want a nation full of workers, not a nation full of thinkers. This is how he funded the education system. That's what he said. So now our people here, we're very, very much a product of that school system, to where we don't really even think over here. We just kind of follow orders as well. So the things are bad, but not in a way that you would think. And I think you kind of hit the nail on that earlier when you even addressed the TV thing. We obey the talking heads on the TV. And things might not. Matter of fact, my friend is an Uber driver, and he told me, he said, and matter of fact, his name is Taz. I work with him, we make videos together, so on and so forth. So we're on the phone one day, and he's like, yeah, I'm still doing my Uber thing. And, I'm one of the few people, because he lives in Chicago. I'm one of the few people who drive on the black side of town and doing Uber. And he said, guess what is the biggest group of people I've been having to pick up? I said, who? He said, people who think they have the coronavirus. And they want to go to the hospital. And he said, out of 100 people that I took to the hospital as an Uber driver, guess how many people I was able to convince that they don't have it, and they're just going based off what they saw on TV? I said, how many? He said, one. Everybody else was
adamant. Yes.
Right. That they had it, which he was like, man, you don't have it.
Right.
Yo,
right.
Take me to the hospital. So he's trying to talk people out of it, but they still go. And the only reason they're going is because something they saw on TV.
Yes.
And it's a sad state of mind that even here in the States that we live in. And we're very much influenced by what we hear on the TV versus what we've even just looked up ourselves.
Yes.
So I think there has been a silver lining to this whole thing, because people are starting to listen, even though it's very few people, it's not a lot, but it is some people. People are starting to listen to people like yourself, people like me, where we're saying, hey guys, you might want to start growing your food. And something you said earlier, I wanted to confirm, is I'm one of the people who has been guilty of waiting to the last minute. Now, I have some things growing, and my things have been growing for about 30 days now.
Okay.
But this is the first time now keep in mind, I had my compost pile. I had my compost pile for maybe 6 months now. I've been doing a compost pile for 6 months good. But I just started really growing my stuff like maybe 30 days ago. I got to be transparent.
Got you.
So I am guilty as one of those people. But I think, right now, the lot of us is really getting a little more, disciplined about, like, what, maybe I can't rely on fast food and Walmart or whatever the big, chain store is, and now, the word is starting to buzz, proving people like yourself and me right, to a point, more so you than me, but saying, hey, you know what, maybe Miss Gonzalez was, she was on to something. And we probably need to listen, because there's going to be a day
and this is
when we can't put all our eggs in this one basket. We can't depend on these people. And, somebody, I really hate when people come to me or to you, they're like, well, what's the solution? Family, I don't have your solution. You have to be self.
Yes.
High five on that one. There we go. You have to be your own solution. Be self-sufficient. Self-sufficient doesn't mean I provide you with, you know what your family needs. You
Yes.
must make sure that you can provide that independently, or you know where your household is lacking at. You got to be the one to fix that. But what we're saying, people like yourself and I, out of love, 100%, is that the family needs to be a little bit more less inside the matrix, because we know there's a matrix, and we, you know, even me, I'm guilty of it. I go to the store and buy my produce a little bit more than I should. You know, we need to have provisions. It's really that simple. You know, I do want to brag on this. I did create an emergency bag, because things are getting crazy. You need to just have something. If things go down, just grab it and go. Let's go. These are only the main things we need. You know, got a little tent thing in there, got flint, got solar powered phone chargers, just little things.
What? There's such a thing? What? Wait, listen. I have this light, right? It's not even solar powered. You charge it and it takes you for like 2 or 3 days, and that is it. I didn't even know there was such a thing. What? That is crazy. People, there are solar powered batteries. That is battery, yes, that you can get. Okay, that is gems right there, and just put it down. The sun isn't going anywhere. Okay. Boom. I like it. I like it. Yeah. In terms of farming, you know what? For you guys, I can't say give you a pass, because you guys are now becoming aware. In the Caribbean, we've been farming for ages, peoples. This is my accent, by the way, because when I get into the accent, they really, they really. We've been farming for ages, peoples. You can let Crumb come and farm and tell you how to farm, big man. And we've been seeing this since birth. I grew up farming. My mom taught us how to plant our own food. And as soon as I learned that the food was contaminated because of Dr. Sebi and all of these things, and then some things that you drop in terms of the details inside of the carrots and the broccolis and all of those things, I was like, okay, you know what? I don't trust that over there. I am going to just grow my own things and grow and go from there. You know what I mean? And then I asked this fruit lady that I usually get my fruit from, I'm like, question, majority of your stuff, do you grow it or you get it from people who grow it from here? She said, no, it's imported. I said, so that is why they spoil so quickly. Because they spray the things with them. So when they're here, these things do not last a week in our freezer, and we have a good ass freezer, understand? So the fact that I have started noticing that the oranges are very much less seedless than usual. So they're only one seed that we are finding, so we stop eat it completely. And then the tangerines have a lot of seed, but she said that we get them from here. So I'm like, okay. So, but the ones that are grown here are actually greener in color in compared to the one from overseas, which are more orange. So I don't know how it's grown here, but our tangerine are green, because I've seen tangerine from Barbados and it's nothing. Go ahead.
They're spray painting our food out here. Yes, ma'am, 100%. They're spray painting the food. And you know, they're putting dye in the food, and they're putting coloring in the food to make things look like, you know, because when we're dealing with things like the bologna and the hot dogs, and you say, you know, it's all one color when you open it.
Yes.
The only reason it's all one color is because they put dye in that. It's a bunch of scraps that they just kind of, you know, whatever together, they'll put some dye in it, because some of it is green. You know, some of it is black. So to make so you don't see that they put the dye in it. So now when you eat it, you're like, okay, well, it's just all one color. They're doing the same thing with the fruit. The fruit got to be a certain type of color. Now,
yes.
In real life, oranges ain't really that orange. No.
See, thank you very much, because the one that is grown here that I literally pick with my own hands are green. They're not orange. So I start to question her when I saw that similarity, as well as some people may not know. I didn't know this as well a few years ago, that your apple, you see how beautifully shiny it is? Boo, is wax. Thank you. Onto your apple as well. So take the skin off, boo. Take the skin off of it. Understand? So I know that you guys were brought up where you don't want to eat anything seeded. You want just basically you're lazy. I am extremely straightforward. I do not sugarcoat things. I don't have time to sugarcoat things for adults. Honest to God. We have children that we have to bring up that needs to live this life that we have already lived. The least we can do is sit down and listen to guide our children in a better light. So you're gonna see me going in on them a little bit because I think as adults we shouldn't sugarcoat. Because then what? You're then another kid, and then we have to baby talk you so you can then go do things that is good for yourself. Come on now. So your apple have wax. I know that you guys don't like seeded things, but boo, seeded is the shit that is grown, my loves. And if you can find yourself some seeded stuff and take the seeds out and plant it, you cut off the source and you actually have certain semblance of control over yourself apart from the chemtrailing, because they chemtrail here twice a month. Yes. So go ahead.
They've got places out here where they've stopped allowing people to buy seeds. Like the state of Michigan, they're saying that in the whole state, they're declaring seeds and things of that nature to be non-essential. So now you know, certain things can't be sold, and seeds are at the top of the list. You know, they even have this secret, well, actually, apparently it's not a secret, but there's a big vault out in where is it at? There's this big vault out in Antarctica, and it's a seed vault. And they got like armed guards out there protecting this vault that is holding and hoarding nothing but seeds. So now for the people out here who did, oh, I don't want no seeds. Now it's like you want the seeds, you're looking for seeds, and even at the seed store, they're saying, boom, you know, you can't buy seeds.
Wow.
So for some people, you know, they said the people in Michigan had to go to the neighboring state if they wanted to get seeds.
Okay, so for some people who may not understand the reason behind them doing this, you explain. Here is why I'm asking you to explain certain things. Remember I told you up in the podcast that in the Caribbean, the man is voice, the woman is not. They will more listen to you than they listen to me. Yeah, and that is a fact. It is a very sad fact. No matter how much knowledge that I may be spitting or facts that I may be spitting, you will not believe that I have more support from the men community who are not flirting with me and actually asking me, so hun, what should I eat this? And is this okay? Like, I'm constantly getting floods of inboxes from men, and the women, nothing, period. So it is always in our community, men are the guidance. So why do you tell them why they're actually cutting down on people having control over their own foods?
Well, there was this dude by the name of Henry Kissinger, and Henry Kissinger was the Secretary of State for Richard Nixon, one of the most infamous presidents we've ever had. You know, he was the one who had the saying, "I am not a crook," but you know, only a crook would say, "I am not a crook." You know, the guy who's guilty swear out he's innocent.
Yeah.
You know, so now Henry Kissinger had wrote out a memo. It was called NSSM 200. Now, when memo is short for memorandum, but NSSM, National Security State Memo 200. So now that memo had detailed how to control the people. And one of his famous quotes from out of that memorandum was, "If we control the food,
we control the people."
Well, you already know. You already know.
Yeah. And that's it. And then explain to them on a more spiritual level. I have visited this in my YouTube video. But explain to them how the foods control the people. And it is not basically where, yeah, you go to your produce to get your food. Yeah, that's controlling people. But also when you go in depth in that, just break it down. The dirtier your body is, the more control they have over you, because you're not going to question nothing, period. You're just going to go with the flow because you're not connecting on a frequency level or a spiritual base. So that is the breakdown, and I want people to understand that your food literally keeps you back. It does not take you forward. The lighter your body is, the more you're going to question, the more you're going to want to do, the more you're going to want to accomplish in your life. So that is why I started with food, to let people understand that food is not just eating. Food is vibration, is electricity, and that electricity takes you somewhere. Understand? So even though some people may surface level take, the more you control the food, the more you control the people. It is not only based on, I am going to let you come to the supermarket and buy your stuff. It also based on, as much as dirty you are inside or clogged up, I am still going to have control. So that double meaning, can you give more insight on that double meaning basically?
Absolutely. You know, I really appreciate you setting me up for this slam dunk. You know, our people have always been a spiritual people. We've been a very high vibrating people, you know. And when you start talking about things like vibrating, you know, another word for that is being in tune. And I think one of the famous quotes from even reggae tunes is good vibes, good
Yes,
vibration.
yes.
You know, so you're gonna see where the family will say that, and a lot of the listeners won't even understand
That means,
how deep that is, you know,
yes,
because you gotta vibrate, and
true.
a certain vibration is a
Mm-hmm.
good vibration.
Yes,
Not all vibrations are good vibrations.
thank
That's why
you.
we only want good vibes. Now, when we talk about bad vibes, what does this have to do with the food, Crumb? So now, certain food vibrates low,
Mm-hmm.
certain food vibrates high. Number one, first and foremost, everything vibrates. Everything vibrates. Actually, you know, if you go back, did you ever see the movie Black Panther?
Yes, and I watched your review on it as well, which was epic, by the way. Yes,
Thank you so
continue.
much. Do you remember what the metal was called from Black Panther?
Vibranium, I can't pronounce it properly.
That's it.
There we
That's
go.
it. Vibranium,
There
because
we go.
everything vibrates.
There we go.
So now, this metal was so special because it had such a good vibration. Are you following?
Got you.
It had
Got
such a
you.
good
Right
vibration.
there.
Come on, somebody.
I'm
We've been
with
on
you.
it.
I thank you very much. I'm with you.
Now, when you break down a metal to such a small piece, the smallest piece of a metal is defined by if it can be able to go through the digestive system of a plant. So now, if a metal is small enough to go through the digestive system of a plant, it is defined as a mineral now. So now
And the plant is using it, by the way. Just put it there. So that means, continue, sir. Yes.
Now we can only use it if the plant can use it. If the plant can't use it, they're gonna define that metal as a heavy metal. Oh, there's heavy metals in your food, heavy metals in your water. You're like, how is there heavy metal in my water? It's small. It's just not small enough to go through the digestive system of a plant. If it can't go through the digestive system of a plant, it's considered a heavy metal. If it can, it's considered a mineral. Now, when you're dealing even with the word vitamin, really quickly, let's just sidebar. Well, you know, Crumb, I don't really deal with the vitamins. I deal with the, I'm sorry, I don't deal with the minerals. I deal with the vitamins. Well, let me talk to the vitamin family. Vitamin is actually a compound word. It's two words made into one. Vita meaning vital, min meaning mineral. A vitamin is simply a fake mineral. Like, oh, you get your minerals and your vitamins. No, you don't need no vitamins, because a vitamin is simply a vital mineral in synthetic form. You need minerals. Well, where am I going to get my minerals from? The only place you can get your minerals from that is small enough and you know it's legit is from the plants. You got to consume plants. Now, because the plants are going to be lighter. It's not a heavy food. The heavy foods make you vibrate low. So now here's an example. You're eating a whole bunch of heavy foods and it's making your body vibrate so low. You're going to get what we call here in the States, the itis, and it's going to make you sleepy. So now you're going to see where certain foods are going to give you a boost. Certain foods are going to make you sleepy. Now they're going to create fake foods. They're going to give you a boost. Oh, well, I get my boost from my coffee. Well, here's the thing about that. It's going to let you crash after that boost. There's only going to be one type of food that's going to put you in a state of mind where you're going to work and you're not going to crash after, at 5 o'clock when you get off of work.
And it's acidic. Let's just put that there.
Absolutely. Our body, if you look at the pH of it, all of our body is slightly alkaline. So what does that mean, Crumb? That means if you take a pH test and then you rub it on your tongue, the pH is going to be like it's going to read alkaline because your saliva is alkaline. If you urinate on the tab, it's going to come out alkaline because your kidneys make sure that your urine is on the alkaline side. The only acidic part of your body is going to be in your stomach, which has hydrochloric acid. Beyond your stomach, everything else inside your body is alkaline. Insulin, hormones, estrogen, testosterone, everything in your body's alkaline except for the hydrochloric acid that's going to be inside your stomach. So now let's go over to the colon, because that's where a lot of this stuff is going to control your way of thinking. Now, your colon is important because they're going to call this your gut brain. The reason they call it your gut brain is because that's the part of your body that thinks other than your mind. You got to go with your gut. What is your gut telling you? There's a gut instinct.
There we go.
Now your gut has to vibrate a certain type of way, and it's going to receive these vibrations through the air. We are very vibrational people. That's why we have things like good vibes. There was a song by this one kid called Kendrick Lamar.
Yes.
He said, "Don't kill my vibe."
Yes.
Don't kill my vibe.
And also to put that in, don't lose your thought. I just want people to really pay attention. For instance, those old time back in the day televisions? You remember when we used to pass those televisions and it used to scatter the television screen? Okay, people, that's just to give you some insights in what he is talking about, frequencies and energies. That is basically who we are as a being. We vibrate that energy as well. So when we pass electrical stuff, then we move that. Example, when you press something or an electrical cord and you get shocked, how do you think you get that reaction? Okay? So just to put that in there so you can understand that, yes, your food needs to vibrate with your body to cause that electricity. Boom, back at it. I just want to bring that there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So now you're going to have the vibration of the whole world is called the Schumann resonance. And I think it's like 7.83. Now, why is this important? Because everything vibrates at a certain level based off of that. So now your body, the Schumann, now that's hertz. 7.83 hertz. Your body vibrates at, let's say, 100 megahertz. It's like a smaller version. So now your body vibrates at 100 megahertz. Your food vibrates at, let's say, 90 to 95 megahertz. The only thing that you're going to consume that's going to vibrate higher than your body is oil. That's the highest vibrating thing that we can consume is rosemary oil. Rosemary oil vibrates at like 120 megahertz. Okay. But we've always known oil has been for the anointing.
It's
Oil
true.
has always
Coconut
been
oil,
in there.
yes. We
You know,
coconut oil,
and
yes. Go
even
ahead.
even if the family isn't even religious as far as anointing, our people naturally, we love to oil our skin.
Yes.
Oil makes us feel good.
Yes, it does. And it
You
doesn't
know,
clog. Like we can relate on that because in the Caribbean, we be oiling. I just will put out there. We be oiling a lot. So they can definitely understand that fact. Continue.
okay. So so now you know, we know that the foods vibrate at a certain level. So those are fresh foods that vibrate from let's say 95 to 100 along with the body, and different oils are going to vibrate higher than the body, rosemary, those type of things. So now you're going to have your foods that have a low vibration. They're vibrating, but they're a low vibration. So now you're going to have foods like Snickers, canned sodas,
a lot of flowers,
heavy flour food.
yeah.
They all vibrate very low. So now let's say you're a healthy person, but your foods are vibrating low. So you yourself, you're vibrating at your regular 100 megahertz, and you're going to eat a food that's vibrating at, let's say, 50 megahertz. Now, once your body starts to vibrate at 50 megahertz, at half of the operational whatever, that's when you start, oh, I'm sorry, let me back up. You vibrate at 80 megahertz, you're not feeling so well. 70 megahertz, you start getting colds, a flu. 60 megahertz, you're seriously sick. 50 megahertz, when you're vibrating at half your frequency, that's when cancers start to develop. You know, certain people are vibrating low, not because of the way they think. Maybe they're in a good relationship, maybe they have a happy home, but they're still getting these cancers because they're vibrating low somewhere in their life, and oftentimes it's the food. Now it's a vicious cycle. So why am I eating the food? Crunchy foods quell frustration. When you're frustrated, you tend to grit your teeth. Crunchy foods are going to be good for people who are frustrated. Sweet foods are for happy times. So if a person's not happy in their life, they're going to eat some sweet foods. You know, so we eat sweet foods during our birthdays. We eat sweet foods as a gift for Valentine's Day. Sweet foods are for children who do good. They get a reward, some candy. So now sweet foods are responsible for that
Good
happy
things.
emotion. So now a person's not feeling so well, they're going to revert to sweet foods. So now you eat the food because of how you're thinking, and now the food is going to force you to go in deeper depression. So now, oh, I ate the food because I was depressed, and the food made me even more depressed. Sister, that's a vicious cycle.
Wow, I understand. Because you didn't even solve the reason why you're depressed, boo.
Right.
Yes. Continue, sir.
So now your gut brain is not able to pick up the certain things it would pick up on a spiritual level. So now, you know, we've always been in tune with the earth. Depending on how old grandma or grandpa, great grandma or great grandpa is, they can tell you when it's about to rain because they're going to feel it in their bones.
Thank you. Thank
We've
you
always
very
been
much.
you know, we've been in tune with the ethers. We've been in tune with the atmosphere. We've been in tune with nature. So now that thing is on a personal level as well. We've been in tune with people. You know, we'd be like, you know, I don't get a good vibe about your friend.
Boom.
You know, your friend over there, I don't get a good vibe about him. He has a bad energy about him.
It's true.
So now the gut brain is, you know, because this is a gut feeling we're talking about. Well, you don't know him. You don't know Jerome. And this is true. You don't know Jerome. It's just this feeling you get. But now, because, you know, now what type of feeling is this? This is a gut feeling. Now, but if you have food in your gut that's not passing, I'm not trying to be disgusting about this,
No,
but
no.
I'm saying
Do you
that when people eat certain foods, it's hard for that food to go
to
through their
come through?
digestive system.
Yeah.
Now, where in the digestive system does the food typically get caught? In your large intestines, aka in your colon. Why is this important? Because that's where your gut is at. So now when the feces doesn't pass through your colon, it gets stuck there, and this is probably, you know, vibrating at, like, let's say 40 megahertz. This is it's vibrating so low, you know, you're at 100. The feces in your gut that's not passing, it's vibrating at 40. So now it's bringing down your vibration. And if you don't pass it, it's going to continue to be an energy vampire. It's a parasite at this point. It's well, what type of parasite is it, Crumb? It's an energy vampire. It's feeding on your energy. You know, I'm not even talking about being fat. Well, he's not necessarily a fat person, but he has a beer belly. That's not a beer.
No, boo. That's waste.
He's clogged. He's clogged.
Yes. He's
full
up.
of SAIT. But, oh, he's full of ish. No, literally, he is.
He is.
What he ate on Monday,
Still in there.
By Thursday, is still there.
Thank you.
It didn't leave until Thursday.
Thank you. And what people don't know as well is that certain foods take a few hours to digest. And this notion that we have 3 meals a day is really something that we should get rid of, because your body and how the cycle of the sun goes, and just the cycling period, you have a certain period to eat your food. In the morning, you have 8 hours to digest, and then you have the other few hours to heal your body, to clean certain things out of your body. So you eating from 12 o'clock, which is one of the highest peak of the sun, gives your body enough energy. Am I right? It is the highest peak, yes. That gives your body enough energy to actually digest your heavy foods as well. So when you decide to go eat at 8 o'clock in the morning, boo, you have stopped your, I call them soldiers, you have stopped your little soldiers from healing that little break tissue. Maybe you sprain your ankle, or maybe, you know, you cut yourself or something. You have stopped a certain amount of them from actually healing that to coming to digest your foods. So therefore, it's going to take you a while to heal. And then whatever your food is, it takes a while for it to come out of your body. So when you eat at 8 and then you eat at 1, you have not actually pushed out your 8 o'clock meal, boo. You're going to compound that with your 1, and then you decide, oh, it's 3 meals today, so I'm going to eat at 8 or 7 o'clock in the night. Then what you're trying to do, I just call it drowning yourself, because you're eating heavy foods at night as well. Then you go lay down, then you wake up and your nose is clogged up, you're peeing a lot. You get up and your first pee in the morning, it looks like the gutter, which is brown. Like, come on now. It is too much. It is like, those are the signs, my loves. Those are the signs that you need to take a chill back. But then when I say that, I have to understand that some of these foods are extremely addictive to the body, and it's hard to get rid of. So boom, you could do it.
Yeah, if I could just add value to that, you know, when we're dealing with that thing, it's called the circadian rhythm. We have our own circadian rhythm. Bears have a different circadian rhythm where they hibernate for a certain amount of time, you know, and their circadian rhythm is based off seasons, versus our circadian rhythm is based off the cycle of the day. So theirs is the cycle of summer, spring, winter, fall. Ours is in the cycle of morning, noon, night. And theirs is within a 12-hour month. Ours is within a 24-hour, or I'm sorry, a 12-hour day. So our circadian rhythm is broken up into 3 shifts. You have the morning shift, the afternoon shift, and the night shift. So the morning shift is from 7 to 3. Well, matter of fact, let me start at the night shift. The night shift is from 11 to 7. So from 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock, the night shift is working. And what are they doing? They're just getting all the stuff out of the body that's messed up. This is the restoration time. They're the only ones supposed to be working. Everybody else is asleep. So then the morning shift wakes up. Those cells are asleep at night. Just like the body is asleep, certain cells are asleep. So now the morning shift comes in. They're fully rested over the night. They haven't done anything. They just rested. They come in from 7 to 3 and they're ready to do work. So now they're going to, they're responsible for, getting that jump start, that morning wake up, and then they're going to do their heavy work, just as you were saying, when the sun is at its peak. Now, the hottest part of the day, if the family may not be aware of this, the hottest part of the day is 3 o'clock, not 12 o'clock. The sun is at its highest at 12 o'clock. The hottest part of the day is at 3 o'clock. Now those cells work from 7 to 3. Now, the afternoon shift comes in. Well, the evening shift rather, they work from 3 to 11. So that shift is the shift that's going to be responsible for burning the energy that 7 to 3. So it's from 7 to 3 is when you eat. You eat from 7 to 3. Boom. The shift from 3 to 11 is responsible for burning that energy. So you energize from 7 to 3, along with you energizing from the sun. You burn that energy from 3 to 11. After you burn the energy, whatever's burnt off is going to get cleaned up from 11 to 7 a.m. So now here's the problem that you were talking about earlier. What they're going to do is that 7 to 3 shift. The 7 to 3 shift, they woke up tired because they had to help the 7 to 11 shift. So I'm sorry, excuse me, the 11 to 7 midnight, the graveyard shift, they had to help them. Why did they have to help them? Because the 3 to 11 shift, they're only supposed to be responsible for burning, but you were eating. You were eating at 8 o'clock p.m. That's the shift you're supposed to be burning on. You're not supposed to eat.
Thank you.
In addition to that, if you're going to eat, you can't wait till 7.
Boom. Thank you.
Now, you got some of these people working a graveyard. If you're going to call out to work, I need you to call out at least by 6.
Thank you.
Don't wait till 9 p.m. to call out.
You just slave driving them at this point. You both here slave driving though, like legit. It's too much, and you're not even paying them. Thank you. You're not even paying them right as is. Understand?
Right. You. So now, a part of the body, it determines you're abusing me now. As a worker, you're abusing me. So you know what abused workers tend to do?
They quit, people.
They quit.
They quit.
They quit.
Thank you.
I'm out of here.
Well, I won't work for you no more.
I don't want to work here no more.
Okay. Jeez,
the pancreas don't want to work. The kidneys don't want to work. Your brain don't want to work. Your gut instinct, that don't work no more.
Period. So you both here having a lot of crazy relationship, and Jerry both here making you fun of you because you can't sense that Jerry is an idiot.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
So yes, people, food is important to the body. So if you're trying to change, if you're trying to go into this spiritual journey and work out or try to manifest this boo, but you still about here eating graham burgers and hamburgers and the meats and the rice and the flowers, how you expect to manifest, my loves? How do you expect to manifest? How you expect to have that motivation, determination to go after your dreams of a t-shirt business? Huh? If you can't get up in the morning simply to be disciplined enough to say, I am not going to eat. I am going to fast today. I am not going to eat any more meat because I know that shit isn't doing any good for my body. I am going to stay off of certain things that I know is not good. I am going to go into research. I am actually going to sit down and give Dr. Sabia a listen. Because you know what? He ain't put me in the hospital. I about here still living. I about here still actually looking to eat something better that's giving my life substance than taking substance from my life. Understand? So discipline. Continue. Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, here in America, we have this thing where if we know you're lying, we say you're full of shit. I'm sorry for saying that. My apologies.
I love it. Go ahead. Yes. Yes.
So now what we're seeing is that the family is literally full of, you know,
full of
and this is going to affect your psychology.
Mm-hmm.
When that stuff doesn't move from out of your body, it affects the way you think overall. You know, you tend to make poor decisions.
Mm-hmm.
This food has a psychological ramification. If you eat these certain type of foods, you're going to tend to you're going to tend to think a certain type of way, you know, including being depressed. Now you say, well, Crumb, can you prove that certain foods will make you think a certain type of way? I can prove that. Yes, family. Number one, the number one cause of nightmares is overeating. The number one cause of nightmares is overeating. You shouldn't be eating certain foods before you go to bed, because if you do, this is going to cause you to have nightmares at night. So even your subconscious won't think right if you consume certain foods. Second reason why consuming certain, I can prove consuming certain foods controls the way you think, is because when you consume foods like, matter of fact, there was this prison here in America, in California, the state that has the highest rate of incarceration in America. One of the highest states is California. They have a huge prison system out there. So now in California, they tried this new thing with the prison, where the prison had a vegan diet, and the inmates in the prison that had the vegan diet. Now, keep in mind, when they created a new prison, they gave people the option. They said, hey, if you want to come to this new prison, you have to volunteer to come. We're not going to force anybody to go. But in this new prison, they're not going to eat meat at the new prison. So now this is one of the baddest prisons out there. So I think 40% of the population say, yeah, we'll go to the new prison. So within the baddest prison, 40% of that population went to the vegan prison. And those 40% of those people who were willing to not eat meat in their diet, they said that prison had less than 1% fights in there. It was more peaceful in that prison. That prison was a shining star, and it had the lowest recidivism rate. Recidivism meaning that the group of people that go to jail after being locked up. So I'm not talking about first-time offenders. I'm talking about people who keep going back. That jail, anybody who went through that program had a very high chance of not coming back. And it was simply because of how they ate their food. You can go look this up on YouTube. So, you know, when we say that, you know, eating meat causes people to be more depressed, causes people to be more violent, causes people to have mood swings, eating fruits and vegetables causes people to think more positively, causes people to have a higher quality of life. It causes people to vibrate higher. This isn't just opinion, family. This is right and exact. This is facts.
Yeah, this is facts. It is facts. And well, in terms of the meat, that is going to be a hard sell. So I just get disgusting when explaining why not to eat meat, because in the Caribbean and in South America, meat is the shit, okay? Meat and flowers are the shit to people. You can't tell them nothing about not eating meat. Protein is it. And I keep telling people this protein stupidity that I have going on. Protein is not the only thing, my loves. Understand? And I've said this before. So I want you to get nasty and just break down the DNA of the meat and just every single thing that goes on with that. And then you just consume a foreign body into your body, and just how that pollutes everything. Just disgust them as much as you can.
Well, yeah, we're not supposed to be eating meat, you know, and that is just the simple reality of it. So if you look up meat, only fruit has meat. When we're eating animals, that's not meat, that's flesh. That's muscle, that's tendons, that's skin. You know, so now if you look up like meat, mango, that stuff in the mango, that's meat.
Yes.
It's mango meat.
Yes.
The stuff inside the chicken, that's muscle. That's muscle. That's flesh.
And that's where they inject everything, though, in the muscle, people. Continue. Yeah.
So now, when you're eating meat, it's going to bring up certain problems because certain people, not everybody eats the same. Eats meat the same. A lot of our culture has been influenced by Europeans. So now, why is this a problem? Let's take Jamaica, for instance. Jamaica's national dish is ackee and saltfish. If you look up ackee is not indigenous to Jamaica. It's indigenous to the Ashanti tribe of the Gold Coast of Africa. So now, if you look up saltfish is indigenous to Norway. It's a Norwegian dish. So now they're going to get the fruit side. You know, as far as their culture, it's a mixed bag. Jamaica's culture is a culture of slavery, and it's just the reality that they deal with. So if you look at their culture, it's a mixed bag between Europe and between Africa. You're going to see fruit coming from the African side. You're going to see the meat coming from the European side. So now when you're dealing with this meat consumption, it's based off European culture. So it's going to lead you onto a certain path. Now, when we talk about consuming things like chicken, I have to make a distinction between a cultural way to consume chicken and a European spiritless, soulless way to consume meat. So now when you're going to consume things like chicken, if you grow your own chicken, the quality of the chicken is going to be different than what you're going to eat at the store, at McDonald's, you know. So now some of the families going to tell you this, you know, some of our loved ones are going to tell you that, hey, the ancestors ate meat. Well, I want to challenge that. If the ancestors did consume meat, it was meat that they raised with TLC. They knew where the chicken came from. They knew what the chicken ate. They hatched that chicken. The chicken lived with them and had a certain quality of life. If you go to McDonald's and eat that trailer trash, you know, coming from the European beast, then, you know, that stuff getting dropped on the floor and so, you know, and some more stuff. You know, when we talk about how our mother cooks food versus how you're going to get the food out there in the street, you know, our mothers had a secret ingredient to their food called love. She had a secret ingredient. So even if the meat touched through your mama hands, she had a, you know, because she was vibrating at a certain level, she raised the vibration of the meat. You know, not only did she grow that chicken, she killed that chicken. She
made sure to put it in vinegar and salt in the Caribbean, all that extra bits. Yeah.
You know, so now that stuff you're going to eat at McDonald's, that's mystery meat. It's grown on a farm. It's handled by people who don't want to work there. These people are vibrating low. The food is vibrating low. Now we're not even eating to feed our bodies. We're going through a low vibrational ritual. Simply, you know, the number one reason that our people are eating right now is a psychological reason. The number one reason you should eat is to feed and nourish the body. Well, if the people aren't feeding and nourishing the body, what are they doing? They're feeding because they're eating. The number one reason people eat is because they're bored.
Hit it! Boom! Just everything just drop. Boom! And that is it. And I have noticed that in a lot of ways. People would sit down, they're not occupied. Prime example. Electricity goes out, no internet is there, they do not know what to do with themselves. Visitors to the fridge is more frequent than anything. Thank you very much. And that is mic drop right there. Literally, you're not hungry, but you're bored, so you eat. Instead of reading a book, maybe cleaning up your house, build something, do a meditation, you eat instead. Yes. Continue. Mic drop. Mic drop.
Absolutely. You know, so now we're eating for the wrong reasons. That's a large part of our problem. We're eating for the wrong reasons. And you know, the ritual part of it. I'm not eating because I'm hungry. I'm eating because it's breakfast time. I'm eating because breakfast is the most important meal of the day. That's you know, you're going with a cookie cutter society of a way to think and program yourself. How about you don't eat because it's time to eat? You eat because you're hungry. Don't eat oh, it's breakfast, I've got to eat. No. Oh, it's lunchtime, I've got to eat. Oh, it's dinner, I've got to eat. No. The only time you should eat is when you decide in your body, hey, you know, there's so many people who say, I'm not hungry right now. It's breakfast time. It's the most important. You know, now your family's getting on you because
that you gotta eat.
You've got to eat because they told you this is the time to eat. You know, that's just been a part of our conditioning, them telling us. Don't listen to what they say you should eat. Listen to your body. Your body's going to tell you, hey, it's time for me to eat. You know, don't eat because you're bored. Don't eat because they told you to. Eat because you're hungry. That should be the only reason you eat.
Yeah.
But now
no, go.
You're eating because you're depressed. You're eating because you're frustrated. You're eating because you're bored. You're going through some type of emotion. This is an emotional response. A lot of people who are overweight are dealing with emotional issues. You know, not judging anybody, not doing a cookie cutter. This does not apply to all overweight people. But what you're going to see by and large is that when you're dealing with overweight people, they're dealing with something that has nothing to do with food. Yeah. They're dealing with something psychological.
Because it is deemed dessert to be comfort food, you decide to eat it then. And then what happens to you? Eat it because you were trying to comfort yourself. Then you didn't realize that the comforting that you've done was too much comforting. Then you put on too much a comfort weight, and then you comfort the insecurities of your comfort weight with more comfort food. Understand? So
it's
then
a vicious cycle.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So then you just comforting the heck out of new issues that you've developed from the beginning issues instead of actually dealing. And that is where I visit another realm as well, in terms of people don't realize that they have issues, and the reason that they do these things is because of said issues as well. So when I visit certain things, I break down, okay, so we visit comfort food. Why are we visiting comfort food? Why is that we decide to take comfort food? Is it because you were stressed? Why were you stressed? What made you stressed? What are you going to do about the stress that you've allowed? Because people seem to think that they're not the reason why they're unhappy. Yes, you are. You've allowed yourself to be unhappy, my loves. So the fact that that has happened is what you deal with. And then people ask, how is it I allow this person to do this to me? Because you've accepted it. You've accepted that person doing that to you. Because then when you break that down, you see that you deserve this person to treat you this way, is something else to revisit as well. So it's like a total breakdown of why you've eat the comfort food, basically. So, because you haven't dealt with the stress. If you haven't dealt with the stress, learn how to deal with the stress. Ask someone to teach you. There is no shame in saying, hey, I don't know, help me. It is literally that simple and easy, because it is for you at the end of the day. So I was going to ask a question about something that you were saying. It was extremely important in terms of the cycle of eating. Oh, yes. So you are hungry and you eat because you're hungry. But then what are you eating that you think you need to feed yourself because you're hungry? That is what I find that a lot of people get mixed up with, confused with. So, you know what? I am actually hungry at 12, but are you hungry for the burger, or are you hungry for some fruits, for some minerals to be placed into your body? It is what you're hungry for is what we as a society needs to relearn, like the dynamic of what hungry is. A lot of people think malnourished or malnutrition or whatever that word is, malnourished, right? It means that the comparison where what we see in the Caribbean is in Africa, these babies with their little bellies pushed out and they look like they haven't ate anything. That is literally not what malnourishment is, that your body is lacking of a lot of its nutrition within your body. So when you find that you're going to be craving spinach, let's say spinach has iron, you're literally just craving iron. So you find the foods that has iron and you eat from there. So when you're craving something that may be similar to, let's say you're craving chocolate. Chocolate has sugar in it. That sugar is bad sugar. Look for something that gives you good sugar. Maybe your body is lacking energy as well. So you go and you look for something that is alkaline-ish for your body, and then you go from there. So when you're hungry, understand that you're not hungry for fast food. Your body is actually calling out for the minerals that is lacking, and that is what you go towards feeding it.
Absolutely. Right. I was just pulling up
go ahead.
Something to confirm what you were saying. And this is just, the top 5, just to keep it simple. 5 major food cravings. So let's say you're craving something salty. That means you need trace minerals.
Okay.
If you're craving sweets, that means you need chromium. If you're craving chocolate, you're really craving magnesium. A lot of people say that they crave dairy. They're really craving fatty acids. And people who say that they're craving meat, just as you were saying, they're really craving iron.
Yeah.
They're craving iron, they're craving B12, which, those are things you're going to be able to get from the plants. I could do this all day.
True, and you do it for a while, and I admire. Continue, man. Seriously, continue doing what you're doing. People are in the Caribbean, I don't know if you may know, you literally do have support over here as well, and we find your information extremely refreshing. Real thing. So thank you for doing what you do, and for the love of God, sir, please protect yourself. We are afraid over here. My boyfriend, when you went to Oprah's home, we were like, listen, we were like, is this boy serious right now? Does he know he is our gateway? What is he trying to do right now? So we were hella scared. And then you were like, I'm back home. I'm like, yes, he's back home. So yes, that was like watching the most scariest movie in my entire life. I was like, hello, sir. No, we need you alive. We need to protect you. We need to make sure that you are good. But I want to thank you so much. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for humbly coming to visit my page. I am hella appreciate this, honest to God. I truly, truly, truly do. And tell us where we can find you and everything. Go ahead.
Well, I want to thank you so much for having me on, sister. It's really a pleasure and honor. I want to say to the family, I am your humble brother, Crum. You can find me on Instagram. I am doing pretty well over there, CRUMBTV _. Just hit that follow button. Lots of content coming from that pipeline. Also, you can find me on YouTube, CRUMBTV. I think I'm just now really starting to get some good traction over there as well. So just hit that subscribe button over there if you like what you see. Last but not least, my biggest platform is on Facebook. Facebook
is on Facebook. Anyway, trying to Facebook, nothing. Do what you do. Continue. I accept that. No, let's go.
Okay. Now, and anybody who is familiar with me, they know that because of my sister, I am on my best behavior. I want to try to make sure that I respect her platform. But yeah, on my platform, I don't call it Facebook. It's not called Facebook, family. It's called Racebook.
There we go.
They racist over there. It's called Hate Book. Those people are some haters. It's called Fake Book. Those people are so fake. I tell you what. So yeah, you can find me over there, CRUMBTV. Hit that follow button. Thank you so much, sis, for having me on. One last request before I get off the line. You know, you just got to have me on again. You know, if we can do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
What? All right. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I am going to bring you back on. I am so honored. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So guys, truly do yourself a favor. If anything that you've not done yourself, we have downtime in quarantine. Understand? The least you can do, as I say on my Instagram, use this downtime to really and truly educate yourself. And Brother Crum truly have a platform that really brings you out of there. Even if you don't want to believe what he says, he makes you think. Understand that he truly makes you think and question a lot of things that you don't question. As you know, in the Bible, they say, oh, don't question things, but don't worry, I'm going to do a separate video on that. But no, question things, and he makes you think outside the box. He brings you to perspective, and he carries you to places that you would never experience in your life. So truly give him a like and a follow. Support the fella. He truly put himself and his family in the way to really give us this platform. So thank you. Blessings, 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 blessings. Have a great day, everyone. Bye. Hey, you. Yes, you. So thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope that you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for coming to my page. So I would like for you to subscribe, and I also want you to watch the last video, and I hope that you enjoy everything on my channel.